Hello, my name is Jeff Lovejoy, and I'm a certified business coach with Action Coach. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Mark Itzkovitz from WT Marketing Agency. Morning, Mark.
Greetings, Jeff. How are you?
All right. Thank you, sir. Doing very well. Mark, tell the audience what WT is all about.
Well, there's nothing more than I love talking about WT, so it's an easy question for me. So we are a full service digital marketing agency. So, historically, when I started the company, 14 years ago, my background is technology. So we were really more of a technology focused shop, and we built websites. They were technically sound, and they were, we were good at getting them ranked on the search engines. And so that became sort of our bailiwick. And over the years, as we've evolved, we've recognized that it's critical to not just have a website that works and comes up in the search results when people search for you. But at the end of the day, it has to be engaging, has to really do a good job of telling your story. And so just being up there, if you're paying a lot of money and having your website come up at the top of the search engines and it's not really working for you, you're kind of wasting money. So over the last, 3 years, give or take, we've really made an effort to bring in the whole component of messaging, positioning, storytelling, brand development, and we've sort of wrapped that into what we already do well, which is the technology side, building really good websites. And so the result we feel like is we're a full service agency. We feel like it's, to get your website ranked at the top of the search engines doesn't, at the end of the day, it's about your bottom line. It's about really generating opportunities, revenue, accomplishing your goals. And so we come to the table, and that's our goal. So it's all about transparency, helping companies grow their bottom line. And, Jeff, you and I both know the importance of the internet right now, especially with COVID and everybody's working from home, doing all their shopping online. I mean, we're, the Zoom call right now that we're doing. I mean, I don't know about you, but I do probably 6 a day on average.
Yes.
And so the internet is where it's happening. If you're not on the internet with your company and you're not, engaging and communicating effectively with your audience and with your clients, wherever it is, social media, your website, all of the above, then you're probably behind the game. You're not competing at the level you need to be.
Right.
So
yeah. I was interested that you mentioned stories, because stories are just so important to kind of engage clients and kind of, it seems like stories are getting a lot of press these days in terms of the importance of having stories in whether it's a website or whether it's a blog post or a white paper. You got to have stories in whatever you're pushing out.
Right.
So Mark, how long has the company been in existence?
I started initially in 2006, and I had a partner at the time, and of course, as you can attest, starting a company from scratch, especially in our case where we had never worked for another agency before, we were both coming from a corporate environment. So we were kind of inventing the wheel, and easier said than done. And probably about 2 years into it, sometime in 2008, my partner and I separated. We sort of went separate ways. We just couldn't generate enough income and revenue and business to support 2 families. And he went and got a full-time job. And it's funny, we still joke about it today. And he says that I pushed him overboard, and I say he jumped ship. So, and he's still a good contact and friend. And so I never burn bridges. That's a
good,
very
excellent.
So, so at that point, right after he jumped ship, we sold a couple of big contracts, and it just has evolved over time. And every time we do something wrong or make a mistake or trip over something, well, guess what? We don't do that again. And
Yeah,
when we
right.
and when we do stuff that works really well and we have great success, okay, that's what we do for everybody. And you know, you take 15, 14 years of that and you've got a viable business that's adding value for customers and people enjoy working with you. We're transparent. And so that's
Excellent.
I don't know if that answered your question,
Yeah,
but
it did. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. So you mentioned customers. Who are your ideal client? Where's the niche? Where's the sweet spot in terms of, if I was to say, who's your ideal client, how would you respond to that?
that's a great question, you know, and it's a hard question
Right.
because, you know, doing what we do, we can be successful doing it in any industry. And there's a school of thought that says, well, if you're very niche and you are, you know, really good at doing a specific thing or doing this thing that you do for one particular type of business, and you know that industry really well, that you can charge more for it. And that may very well be the case, but then we've also heard arguments about, well, if you're doing this for all my competitors, what makes me different?
Right.
And so, right. And so and I feel like that's a valuable argument as well.
Right.
So you can, then there's the option, well, you can go exclusive, meaning that we would only take one client on in any particular industry. That way we're not working with their
Right.
competitors. But then what that does is it kind of, you're not the expert, you're not the specialist. So
Yep. Yeah.
we've really set up our process and our what we do, what we bring to the table, to be generic in terms of the industry that in others, we've got all the research, the discovery is built into our process. So it doesn't matter what industry that we're working in, we can be really successful. We're, you know, I've got people on the team now that have been doing this for, you know, 30, 40 years and are brand experts and understand discovery and understand how to really dig into an organization and pull out of it, hey, here's what they need to be accomplishing. Here's the steps that need to be taken. So we're working with clients now on, you know, fundamental strategy around how to be successful with marketing, especially as it relates to the digital world. And so not only do we come in from a strategy perspective, but then we can help execute that strategy on an as needed basis at whatever capacity our client needs us to.
Got it.
But to answer your question though, there's some key pieces of the puzzle for us that make it a good fit for us. The client has to get what we do. They have to be a reasonably savvy business owner that has a budget, is running their business like a business, or maybe a larger mid-sized type of company that has a budget. They understand, look, if we're going to be successful out in the world in our doing what we do, we have to budget, whether it's 5 or 7 or 8% or whatever, could be 10% depending on you know, the audience and the target market.
Yeah, right.
Of our you know, annual revenue towards marketing. You know, if I've got a company that's a $10 million company and they're budgeting, you know, $4,000 for the year for marketing, that company is not a good fit for us because they don't get, you know, the seriousness and what's required to be successful.
Yep.
And so that's a key piece of the puzzle. A lot of it has to do with, we look at the organization and get a clear understanding of how decisions are made. You know, how do they run their organization? Is it centralized where everything has to go, you know, is the approval process going to be a disaster and the project take 2 years to complete? That's not a good fit for us. So we look at a lot of things other than what the vertical is or the niche. It's more about the type of company, how it's run, their business processes, and are they serious about growing a business? And those are the key things that I look for as a business owner. We want to be successful, and we want to be transparent. I've taken the time to really put a great team to build a process that we feel like it works. We've got a great story. Well, we want to be in a position with a client to be successful.
Got it.
So.
Got it. Okay. So So I heard that there's no particular industry that you focus on, and I also thought I heard that you're not the smaller guys may not have the budget that you're looking at, and so you tend to be mid-sized companies are really in the sweet spot.
Yeah, I mean, again, the size of the company isn't really the biggest factor.
Right, it's the
Because
budget.
right, it's the budget and it's how they're running the company, and are they positioned for growth?
Yep, got it.
Do they get hey, here's how you run a business. Obviously you need to do some marketing, and
Yep.
that's what we're here. And also, I mean, you don't who was it, not Bill Gates, probably Steve Jobs, I think, that had a quote, well, why would I hire somebody, pay him a lot of money, an expert, pay him a lot of money, and then tell him what to do?
Right, got it.
I mean, the reason you bring somebody who has this expertise and is going to charge you a lot of money is for them to tell you what to do.
Yeah, got it.
And you know, that's it in a nutshell. It's
Got it.
if we're working with a customer that wants to say, hey, here's what I want you to go do, that's probably not going to work for us, because chances are it's not what they need to be. At the end of the day, we go do what they say and it doesn't work. Well, guess whose neck is on the line?
Right, right.
They're pointing the finger at me. Well,
Right,
if you're going to give me that, make me accountable, give me that responsibility, I want to be able to at least be involved in strategy. And you got to listen to, here's how it goes. This is how it works. We do this for everybody all the time. So.
Yep, got it. Got it. So I imagine some of those customers in your business may as well have been impacted by the turbulence going on today. Has there been much impact on your business with COVID and with the Black Lives Matters and all the uncertainty today?
Yeah, I mean, good question. It's on both sides of the fence, and we've had fairly sizable clients come to us and say, look, we want to put our stuff on hold and stop until this settles down, and
Right.
you know, we love working with you guys. We'll definitely be back. Here's, you know, but obviously and I think this particular company I'm thinking about, they had a lot of their clients were hospitals and were the public sector school systems, and that was a big part of their business. And so those guys were cutting back, and so they weren't sure how it was going to work. Anyhow, so that has happened on, you know, in a number of instances. But then we also have other clients that were like, oh gosh, this is a game changer. We need to pivot immediately and figure out how to salvage what we do and reposition ourselves and our offering to be able to add value in this new world we live in.
Sure.
And I mean, we work with a big consulting practice that works with Fortune 500 companies, net internationally, actually. And you know, a lot of their clients are manufacturing facilities and food processing plants and like big companies. And so they're like, they go in and work on the shop floor with these people. Well, all of a sudden those companies are shutting down. And so they had to pivot and figure out a new way to offer what they do. And so we worked with them to build a whole online offering and campaigns through social media. And it's, you know, they've actually not seen a huge decline in their business because of it.
Oh, good. Excellent. So has it caused you to do any pivoting, or has there been an adverse impact on WT? Or maybe it's not adverse. Maybe that's not the right word. Has it had an impact that's caused you to do things a little differently? Whether that's externally focused or whether that's internally, you've got time to do things now that you might not have before. What's been the impact on WT?
You know, the impact's been interesting. It's from a operational perspective, and I can't imagine, you know, there aren't many companies that aren't impacted operationally, but you know, all of a sudden we're completely remote. You know, people that I used to see every day in the office, I haven't seen in 3 months.
Yep.
In fact, we've even hired 2 people who I haven't met yet. So, I mean, talk about an impact. It's managing a team of you know, a full team remotely is far different. So for me and for some of our key leaders, it's been challenging to manage the work, to communicate effectively,
Right.
and it's been that's been the main impact for us. We've been fortunate enough to not be, you asked me earlier about a niche. Well, do you have a niche?
Right.
Well, there are agencies that I know personally that were very focused on a specific niche, and that niche was hugely impacted by COVID. And all of a sudden, the agency laid off 3/4 of their staff.
Right.
We
Right.
did not have that problem, and that's another issue when you niche and you have if something happens with that industry, you go down with the
Yeah.
boat. So,
Yeah.
so that's been a good thing for us. So we've had some clients that fell off for obvious reasons, and we've had other clients that have said, "Oh, we want to do more. We got to really take advantage. We have a window here that we got to, make things happen." And our marketing, our communications, all the stuff, our website, all that stuff is key, because right now that's front and center.
Yep. Got it. So how have you dealt with the fact that, and you bring up that employees are now, everybody's virtual, and not hardships, but the changes that imposes on their managers and you, the owner of the company? How have you guys have been dealing with the fact you're not seeing people face to face, you're not walking by their office and hearing them saying things, and that's a big challenge.
It totally is. So I think one of the key things that we've done is we've implemented some platforms, some tools to help us with communication.
Excellent.
Um,
Excellent.
right, and we're sort of a technology company, so we couple things. So the first thing, from a communication and collaboration standpoint, we implemented Slack, which is a collaboration on the platform, and that has a lot of flexibility and capability. And so we've implemented that, and we're hugely involved and engulfed in communicating on Slack. The whole team is in it, and we used to do that to a certain extent through Google Chat and what's the Google Chat window called? I forget, but Hangouts. And so that was a big. We used it daily, but it's not nearly as flexible, and doesn't have. It's not Slack. So that's been a big piece of the puzzle. The other thing is being able to manage workflow and get good information about, and that's really critical, regardless of whether you're going through COVID and working remote or not.
Yes.
And we had an initiative to put a whole new, I want to call it an ERP, but a platform that helps us run our business from front to end. We had an initiative to put that in place, but even prior to COVID. But then as this started happening, it became more and more critical. Yeah. And so we're just at a point over the next 30 days, I should have access to really some key information around capacity, profitability on projects, and things that I didn't necessarily have full access to before. And I think that's, if you're going to manage a remote team, it's critical to have that. You need to know who's being productive and who's not, and what projects are being profitable and what projects are not being profitable. And it's just, you have to have that insight into exactly where you are as a company.
Right. Excellent. So David, it's been said that smart people make mistakes and learn from them. It's also said that wise people learn from other people's mistakes. What sort of mistakes have you made that you think you want to share with others in terms of what to avoid and what you learned from making that mistake?
And is this just in reference to COVID, or being in general?
Well, yeah, I guess let's just open it up. I mean, if you have something that's specific to where we are today, fine. But if not, then just a general, something that's happened in the past.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing I'll say is you know, keep in mind, back to what I was telling you before, I never ran an agency before. So all this, everything that we do, we do because it's trial and error. We figured
Right,
out, okay, here's the way that works, and we stopped doing the stuff that doesn't work.
right.
And, you know, unfortunately, um, that's, you know, that learning process, the school of hard knocks, I think is what they call it.
Yes.
It's long and drawn out.
Yeah.
And I tend to be very strong-willed and stubborn, and, you know, I'm a typical entrepreneur, and I don't want people telling me what to do. And,
Of course.
right. And so over time you realize that, you know, that's not going to get you far quick. And so just in the past 2 or 3 years, I've really taken a hard look at where I am and where I'd like to be, and made some changes. One of the key changes is, look, if you can't do it on your own. You know,
Right.
as smart of a person, doesn't matter how smart you are, reality is that you can't do everything all the time. There's not enough hours in the day, and you're limiting capacity, you're limiting everything. So I think that the biggest mistake I made was, you know, through the first many years, hiring people, not paying them a lot of money because I didn't want to, you know, I was frugal. And so when you don't pay a lot of money, you get what you pay for.
Right.
And so I think probably more recently, we've gone out and found really, really good resources. We vetted them, and we made sure that they were compensated
Good.
accordingly.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so it's
Right.
been, you know, was real cautious at the beginning. Well, I don't know if I can afford to pay them this, so I'm going to go with this.
Right.
And at
Right.
the end of the day, you can't afford to not pay them.
Right.
And so, and your people are what make you successful, and treating them fairly, and making sure that they have what they need, and they're getting in their careers where they need to be. And really, your resources and your human resources are key to making that happen. And
Yeah.
um,
Those are two great lessons. I took away from that latter point, that the people are the key. And the second point is, especially perhaps during times of turbulence, like great turbulence, like we're in now, the ability of the owner to recognize that the team has input, giving the team input into decision making and into ideas, because things are changing so fast. If the owner sticks to old ideas, that's not a good thing for the company. And so the broader the input can be, perhaps the better the decision comes out.
right.
So,
Absolutely.
so David, to wind down, what inspires you today?
Well, so first I want to point it out that you've referred to me, and I know this is on video, so I'm
Oh,
specifically
I'm saying
saying this.
David, Mark.
Yeah.
Mark. Oh my goodness, so sorry.
No worries, but I know David well, and I know how often you talk with him, so it's very
Ay, ay, ay.
explainable. In fact, you know, as you and I talked about, I got a call with David after this. So
I'm so sorry.
no worries, no
Mark,
worries.
Mark, what inspires you today?
Um, well, I mean, I just think that for WT in particular, um, I think this is a huge, just with the COVID and the situation, we're at the cusp of a huge growth spurt with a ton of opportunity, and I'm really excited about it. You know, we've at this point in the year, we're probably double where we were last year this time, in terms of
Well,
revenue,
congrats.
and probably even more so in terms of you know, margin and profitability. So
That's fabulous.
lots of, right, and I would venture to say not too many companies can say that at this point in the year. We're
Right.
you know, so
Right.
but at the same time, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic. We don't know how long term the effects are from COVID, and you know, not to mention the whole you know, racial injustice movement and the Black Lives Matter, and you know, the society that we live in, and some of the turmoil and that's going on. I mean, I think that has a big impact on where we are as a company, as a country, all of the above. So, you know, you don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know when. So we want to make smart decisions. We want to be in a position to really add value for our customers, and be transparent, and do the right thing and provide value. And you know, you do that, and stuff falls in your lap.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time today. Tell people how they can reach out to you.
So our website, wtmarketing.com, and my email address, if you wanted to set up a meeting or talk for any reason at all, is mark@wtmarketing.com. And then our direct line into our office, 404-348-4921. And my extension is 101. And if for some reason we're not in the office, which is, likely the case these days, that would get routed right to my cell phone. And I look forward to hearing from you and look forward to the opportunity of having a discussion and giving you my advice.
Excellent. Thanks so much for your time, Mark. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the opportunity.
Pleasure.